Good morning. I would like to recall that 10 days ago we have called on Member States of the European Union to enhance their preparedness measures. And as the developments over last weekend show, this call has been justified. I would like to also recall that we now have more than 2,600 lives lost, and the epidemic has affected already 29 countries. This only means that we have to step up our response. It also means that we have to continue to act as a union. As the European Emergency Response Coordinator, I'm working with Commissioner Kyriakides and other commissioners and their services in a joint-up effort since the beginning of this outbreak. Being aware how important an integrated approach is, the European Union is also working on all fronts to protect the citizens and other people in Europe and beyond. There should be no doubt that this is a global challenge, and it requires cooperation of the entire international community. It also requires coordination of all sectors inside the countries themselves. This is why I have also called upon the Ministers of Health 10 days ago to focus on implementing cross-sectorial cooperation in crisis response at their national level. In this respect, I'd like to praise the quick and professional response by the Italian authorities to the outbreak. We have excellent cooperation with Italy in the area of EU civil protection, and I'm confident that Italy has experienced people and effective structures in place for responding in a well-coordinated manner to this outbreak. EU's first priority remains the containment of the disease. At the same time, our efforts are also focused on strengthening preparedness. We have initiated contingency planning on the EU level. We are also providing support for development of Member States' national contingency measures, as we highlighted during the Extraordinary Council meeting. In this respect, today we are announcing the mobilization of over €230 million to help the global fight against coronavirus. This is a joint contribution of the services under the lead of Commissioners Urpilainen, Gabriel and myself. Of these 230 million, 114 million will go to World Health Organization's call for global preparedness. Further 15 million will go to support partner countries in strengthening their resilience and preparedness. €100 million will go into research funding, development of vaccines and treatment that will have a global benefit. And this includes 45 million of contribution from the pharmaceutical industry in the context of Commission's public-private partnership. And finally, €3 million has been devoted to support the Member States' efforts on provision of personal protective equipment to China and on repatriations of EU citizens. I will stop here and I will now pass the floor to my colleague Kyriakides. Stila, please.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. We have said many times that, like all viruses, know no borders. This is also evident in the case of COVID-19. And as Commissioner Lenarchis has already said, and I would like to repeat, we can only address and contain this outbreak and avoid further global spread if we all address it at global level and work closely together, having, of course, as our main priority protecting our citizens. We've been following the developing situation in Italy very closely over this weekend, and these rapid developments over the weekend have shown how quickly this situation can change. The situation in Italy, of course, causes concern, and show how important it is that member states are prepared and stand ready in case they are also faced with a similar situation. I would like you all to know that I have been in very regular contacts with Minister Speranza over the past few days and have been informed that necessary measures for both tracing and contain the spreading of COVID-19 have been taken. Here I want to repeat what Commissioner Lergit has also said and commend the Italian authorities for taking such swift and efficient action, and also with great transparency, which I believe is very important. Since Saturday, daily contacts at technical level are taking place with the Italian authorities, the Commission and the European Centre of Disease Prevention and Control and WHO Europe to discuss the situation that is evolving. In the context of our contacts with Italy, I would like to inform you that in agreement with the Italian authorities, a joint WHO-ECDC mission will be sent to Italy tomorrow. In view of also the recent developments, we have asked ECDC to update their risk assessment, taking into consideration this developing situation in Italy and possible scenarios and actions that may need to be taken in view of this. This risk assessment is, as we speak, discussed with the ECDC Advisory Forum and will also be discussed with Member States in a meeting to be held this morning by the Health Security Committee. ECDC is also reviewing contingency plans in Member States in case we have an outbreak of a higher number of cases. To support preparedness, we're making quick progress on the joint procurement procedure to support access to personal protective equipment, which we had already announced, and this is proceeding rapidly. We're also looking at what funding mechanisms can be activated within the EU to provide support if necessary. From the side of the Commission, and I will be ending with this, we've been working with Member States on contingency planning from day one to look at the preparedness at different levels and to ensure that we have not only the necessary information on how to deal with cases, but that there are other procedures for contact tracing and sufficient laboratory capabilities. In view of this situation, what I would like to say today is that we are going to do our utmost to support Member States to address the situation. We need to take this situation, of course, very seriously, but we must not give in to panic and, even more importantly, to disinformation. We need to be very united in our response, coherent and coordinated. We need to keep each other informed in real time, because only with this coordination are we able to address this situation. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Commissioners. Now we'll take a round of 3 questions. As a procedural matter, please wait for me to acknowledge you, introduce yourself and tell us which media you're working for. The lady in the back.
Yes, Sophie Petitjean for Le Monde. I've got a question. This morning we published an article about a comment from the WHO saying that Italy's response was too slow, and because of the absence of immediate quarantine and flight restrictions. What do you think about that? And about travel restriction, do you think that some further measures are needed, especially with France? And what's the situation with France? Thank you.
Thank you. One more question here, please.
Hi, thanks. Martina Stavis from the New York Times. Are you discussing suspending Schengen fully, reintroducing restrictions and fuller, more comprehensive checks at the borders, especially land and sea borders, not just airports? And if not, why not? It seems that this could be a step towards containing the virus. Thank you.
Thank you. The gentleman.
Michael Peel, Financial Times. Are you concerned that there are particular risk factors in Western Europe? Notably, it's fairly densely populated, it's pretty easy to get around, and that perhaps demands more stringent measures. And what would be your message to publics in various countries, given that we have, for example, Matteo Salvini in Italy already blaming this on migration and saying that Prime Minister Conte should resign if he cannot protect Italians? That seems like the start of the kind of panic that Commissioner Kyriakides just warned against.
Thank you. Commissioners, please.
Thank you. First of all, I would like to say that it would be highly regrettable if this situation would be politicized. What is needed now is that the following. Your questions had all a common thread, which is what measures need to be taken. We believe that when we discuss measures, including the border controls and things like that, we believe that measures should be, first, based on credible risk assessment and scientific evidence. Second, measures should be proportionate. And third, they should be taken in coordination with others. We should act as a union here, not individually. Schengen Border Code allows for temporary reintroducing of border controls. But such a measure, as I said, should be taken in view of the conditions that I just mentioned. Stella?
Yes, coming back to your questions. First of all, I want to reiterate what I have already said, and I want to comment the Italian authorities for acting both efficiently and swiftly over the last weekend, and with great transparency. I think that this is very important. The second question that you had, which my colleague has already answered in terms of border controls, you understand that we are facing a very an unfolding situation, a complex situation, and any decisions made need to be based on risk assessments and scientific advice and need to be proportionate. We are providing guidance to Member States through ECDC for this, and I think it is very important that we stress that for the moment WHO has not advised imposing restrictions on either travel or trade. There are at the moment varying measures implemented across Member States, and this has been over the last few weeks. For us, it is important that any measures taken are coordinated, and we find a common and aligned position for the EU. I'm sorry if I have missed any of your questions. If I have, can you please repeat it?
Sorry, can I just follow up on the issue of border controls?
Yes.
Are you telling us that the Commission will wait for the World Health Organization and the ECDC to explicitly recommend reintroducing Schengen border checks or even higher levels of travel restrictions? Are you going to wait for the World Health Organization and the ECDC to make that recommendation, or will that policy be taken on by someone else's initiative?
Commissioners?
Let me explain that these kind of measures are taken by Member States.
Member States' competence.
That's Member States' competence, and I have outlined the Commission's view on what conditions should be there for measures to be taken. Credible risk assessment, proportionality, and coordination with other Member States.
I'll just repeat it because I want to be absolutely clear on this. It is important that Member States fully respect the advice given from WHO and, of course, from ECDC, but such decisions concerning travel restrictions will always be Member States' competence and Member States' decisions. In this context, I have already called on Member States to coordinate and share all information possible when making any decisions.
Thank you. Another round of 3 questions. The lady in front.
What would be your message to politicians who are already trying to exploit this to promote a political agenda, such as an anti-migration agenda?
I can only repeat the 3 requirements, the 3 conditions for any measures to be taken. There are no other reasons why there should be travel restrictions or border controls, but these 3. So there has to be a credible risk assessment. I know I'm repeating myself, but there has to be credible risk assessment. There has to be proportionality in measures taken, and any measures need to be taken in a coordinated manner with other member states.
I want to say that I fully understand that there is concern, and I also want to use this opportunity to share our sharing of this concern with people who are affected by this spread, and also the condolences to the families of those who have lost their lives. What you actually asked is exactly what I have said that we need to avoid. This is a situation which is a global concern. It is a concern especially to us and to the member states, but we need to act based on scientific evidence, and any different types of interpretations of how we need to react to this, I think will not be helping in us being able to address this problem in a coordinated way.
Thank you. If you have a follow-up, please wait for me to acknowledge you and call on you to raise the question. The lady in front had a question.
Bloomberg News, Proina Lyubov. I would just like to clarify, so it is up to member states to make their own decision on shutting Schengen travel, and you have addressed all the member states with the view of having a coordinated approach, and you're seeking research, credible research, for your next decision. So what will it take for EU? What kind of development should happen for EU to take a wide stance on Schengen travel? That's the first question. And the second question, do you have any EU-wide travel advice at the moment, or are you planning any shortly? Thank you.
Thank you. I will take 2 more. The gentleman in green.
Angelo Di Mambro from ANSA. You are confident, and you say that the actions must be coordinated, but what's your level of confidence in the bilateral coordination besides the action you are having at EU level, let's say the bilateral between member states, each other? Thanks.
Thank you. Last question in this round, please.
Morning, Gallavotti in Kronos Italy. It's just a question on, and just to know if the Commission has been notified by the intention by member states to take border restrictions, because we've heard that Austria yesterday blocked the train for some hours. I wonder if you have been notified of any measure. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioners.
Again, travel advice is in the competence of member states. The European Commission issued its own travel advice for the Commission staff, and we did it together with the European External Action Service. The travel advice was issued already in January. It was made public, and it advised against any non-essential travel to or from China and Hong Kong and Macau. That's what the Commission did together with the EAS. The member states, of course, know about that, and they can decide on their own travel advice and measures. The coordination with the member states has been taking place all along. The Commission has activated its own crisis management mechanisms. So did the Council, and there is a cooperation in this respect. There is cooperation through the Health Security Committee, which Commissioner Kyriakides can tell you more about. There is also the cooperation through the integrated crisis response mechanism that the Council has activated and that the Commission contributes to with its own information. So there are coordination mechanisms that have been put in place, and they are functioning. As for the train issue, no, I'm not aware of any notification to the European Union about the measures taken with regard to the border control.
I'm going to be very clear. The situation to do with border controls, as we have said already with Commissioner Leonard, is a competence of the Member States. I would like, as we have an evolving situation, it has been a situation that we have seen changing very quickly, as you saw over the weekend in Italy. There is a mission tomorrow to Italy by ECDC and WHO in order to assess the situation, and we hope that there will be more information available to us following this on Wednesday. In terms of the bilateral cooperation, there was the EU Health Council of Health Ministers, and there was there agreed that there will be very close cooperation so that they coordinate and communicate on the measures that they are taking. As I told you, that there will be a meeting of the Health Security Committee this morning, and they will be assessing the situation as has developed in Italy. And finally, I want to just reaffirm that we are dealing with a complex situation which is constantly evolving. So we need to be extremely vigilant, but on the other hand, base our decisions on risk assessments and scientific advice. And I think that this is very important to come back to what you already said so that we don't give rise to misinformation. Concerning the trains, yes, this was something that was reported on last night, but from my information this morning, there is no change in the way of the train travel between Italy and I think it was Austria. Thank you.
Thank you. We have a bit of time left. Last round of questions. Please, go ahead.
Sarah Wheaton with Politico. We hear a lot of talk, you've called many times today, for coordination among member countries, even though they have their own right to make their own decisions on these issues. Are you satisfied with the degree of coordination that is already happening? Where could it be better? And what would you say to EU citizens who may feel like, hey, we have Schengen, we have open borders, yet we're not actually seeing health ministers and member countries work together here?
Thank you. One more gentleman, please.
Jack Parrott, Euronews. My question is about whether you, in your crisis management preparedness, you're already discussing some sort of coordinated suspension of Schengen. Do you have a plan? If it gets bad, do you have something in place that you will put into place?
Thank you. Last question, please.
I know this is not directly your portfolio, but is there a plan to start assessing also the impact to the economy of the European Union soon of the current situation? One technical question for you. Will you inform us after today's meeting of the coordination meeting that the Commissioner was discussing before? Should we expect a press release or something?
I will come back to you bilaterally after this event. Thank you. Commissioners, please.
On coordination has been taking place, but it can always be improved. That's why we are calling repeatedly for better coordination among the member states, plus with others. This is not only the Union issue, the issue for the challenge for the European Union, it's a global challenge. Second, on various scenarios like coordinated suspension of Schengen, we are not going into that at the moment, but we are working on various contingency planning on various scenarios, but these are contingency plans. On impact on economy, of course there is impact on economy. There will be impact on economy depending on how long and what dimensions this challenge assumes. However, I would like to reiterate what I said already at the earlier stage of this outbreak. For the Commission, public health is a paramount concern. It is a top priority, and we shall act accordingly.
think it is important to state and to say that what we need to understand that when we're dealing with an evolving situation like we have now of COVID-19, it is not a point of just looking at points of entry into a country, because we cannot detect everyone at risk of developing the disease. And therefore, this is only a small part of the action that needs to be taken when we're looking at the risk of viruses spreading in the EU. We are working very closely with member states in terms of coordinating the way that they are giving information, in the way that they are using their services for early detection, for contact tracing, for location of cases, for the efficiency of laboratories. So yes, there is close coordination with member states for all these issues. Following that, I would say that for the moment, we need to be vigilant. We need to see what WHO and ECDC, how they assess the situation when they visit Italy on Tuesday, tomorrow, and if we need to reassess and change any of the actions that are already being taken, we will not hesitate to do so. I want to be absolutely clear that we are on not, I would say, a daily base, almost an hourly base, looking at the situation that is evolving. But you yourselves have seen how quickly the situation can change, as it has in Italy. This for us is important, so that other member states are also aware. We need to make sure that they are able to deal with a possible increase in the number of cases as quickly. So all this needs to be in place before it happens. And this is what we have been working on for the last few weeks. Having said that, I just ask you to help us in giving the correct information so as to not have the spread of misinformation that we have seen over the last few days.
Thank you, Commissioners. I can see that all of your questions have been exhausted. With that, I would like to thank you for coming down to the VIP corner, and I would like to thank all of you for coming to the Belamo building early on Monday morning, and I wish you a very pleasant day.
There was a question on the Health Security Committee.
Okay, sorry.
Yes, there will be a press statement after that, and we will keep you informed as closely as possible over the developments of the next 2 days. Thank you.
Yeah.
You've mentioned disinformation several
yes.
times. Have you seen particular examples of any kind of coordinated attempts to misinform and spread panic?
I'm not saying any particular examples. You yourselves asked the questions. I'm just saying that when we have a situation which justifiably is causing concern, any situation which causes this kind of concern, one needs to be very careful that we give the right information to citizens who are already concerned. So I just want to be very clear on this. But this is Commissioner Nelajic and myself are coordinating on a daily basis, and there is no feeling of business as usual for us in terms of this.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Well, maybe bilaterally, we will check bilaterally with you the question. All right. Thank you very much.